Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Next Decision podcast. I'm here today with Ian Baer, founder and CEO of Sooth, which is a predictive intelligence company for marketing. So, Ian, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks so much. Predictive intelligence, it took us a while to get to that. But what we realized the more we worked with brands is that the greatest value we were bringing would come to light in moments where a client would stop me in the middle of a presentation and say, "Oh my God, where were you 6 months ago before I decided to sponsor this sports team or sign up this endorser or sign on these 10 mega influencers? And here I am with data showing it was the absolute wrong thing to do with their money." So we realized maybe we should start with the fact that we can predict what's going to work. And then all the other cool stuff we do is a lot more interesting once you know that's the outcome. So that's how we landed on predictive intelligence.
Yeah, no, the idea of the emotional core of folks. I mean, I think there was a statistic you said like 90% of purchase decisions are emotional, right?
Well, yeah, it's actually 90% of all the decisions we make with our money.
All decisions.
So
Okay.
brand decisions, investment decisions. A brilliant social scientist out of Israel, Daniel Kahneman, won a Nobel Prize for proving that out. And specific to the space of marketing, the value of emotional connection has only grown. About a decade ago, Harvard Business Review found that somebody who was emotionally connected to a brand spends 52% more.
Oh, wow.
Well, here we are a decade later, and that increment has grown from 52% to more than 300%, because everything else has become commoditized.
Yeah, that's true. So
and
true.
The only thing that's left is emotional understanding.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting now in the AI age too, because I think everything is sort of like arbitrage to a higher norm of noise. It's like if you can write copy, you can build a product like pretty quickly.
That's right.
But like, this whole emotional, the sacred cows of marketing, people are like attribution. And I'm like, I wish I could tell you the straight line path to someone giving you money, but I think that's a fallacy. And this whole emotional, it's super interesting how you're coming at it from the core of who we are. I mean, we are emotional creatures. That's just that's how
we are.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I'll give you a little example from something that happened to me a couple of months ago. So sitting in my home office, working on a big presentation, and I hear an ominous sound coming from down the hall. And I live in it's a 2-bedroom apartment. Like, it's large for Manhattan, but by anyone else's standards, not a big living space. And we are one of those very rare Manhattan dwelling families that have a washing machine in our apartment. So I hear a noise coming from down the hall, and I look down the hall, and I see water on the floor.
Oh, no.
And I hear the washing machine making terrible noises.
Oh, no.
And I go down the hall, and I see that something has happened, something is clogged, and the machine is completely filled with water, and it's pouring out onto our hardwood floors.
Oh, no.
Now, in that moment, with all the things going through my head, realizing that I either need to repair a machine, I need to replace a machine, I need to get a hold of my landlord, I need to figure out, I don't even know how to get the water out of this thing, because it's not like I can dump it in a slop sink, right? I'm in an apartment. That thing's not next to a window. Okay. And as I'm going through the mental checklist of what to do, and by the way, how many brand decisions face me at this moment, right? Repair, replace. It's a pretty old washing machine. No one here has really looked at that category because I didn't know it was going to break that day. So you know what Every marketing strategy that the manufacturer of my next washing machine would use is based on demographics and past behavior. And how valuable is it to know my zip code or my income or my gender or what I did the last time I bought a washing machine 10 years ago in that moment? And that is the problem with marketing today and why performance has ground to a halt. Because science tells us that only 7% of all brand decisions can be predicted knowing somebody's demographics and past behavior. The other 93%, let's go back to that moment, my emotional needs in that moment, my practical needs, right? I got to turn that water off. I got to get the water out of the machine. Yeah. And my situational needs. I either need to repair or replace. I need to be able to assess that. That's what determines what I do next. That determines the content creators I'm going to come into interaction with in that moment. The YouTube video that I found that told me how to get the water out of the machine.
YouTube.
Oh my gosh, so useful, yeah. Right? And it's a true microcosm of where marketing has lost its way, because when marketing made the turn from one-to-one selling into a scalable practice more than 100 years ago, well, understanding never scaled. Reach scaled, mm-hmm. Frequency scaled. Mm-hmm. Eventually, we got tools like personalization and data to help with personalization and technology. But if the inputs are wrong,
right,
or if the inputs are irrelevant, none of it's going to work. I was up the other night listening to some podcasts, and I never really pay a lot of attention to the podcast advertising. I fully admit it. Sorry, but I don't. I usually tend to tune them out, do something else, forward through the ad. But this time I just listened to the ads. And you know what I realized? My podcast app thinks I'm a menopausal black woman. What I mean is, it's literally true.
Uncanny.
When I actually paid attention to the ads that were being streamed to me, mm-hmm. And by the way, I was not listening to a podcast with a particular target. I was listening to Ed Helms' Snafu podcast, which is great if you haven't heard it.
Yeah.
But every ad was targeting me based on me being somebody I'm not. And I realized it's because of many of the other podcasts that I listen to that the whole platform, Apple, are you listening? The whole platform doesn't know who I am. Yeah. No matter how much I listen to podcasts, and I listen to an incredibly diverse set of podcasts. Now, if there was a way to figure out who I really am behind my listening habits, my emotional motivations, the way I solve problems, the way I discover things, you'd actually find there's a lot of unity to the podcasts I choose to spend time with and the ones I don't. But if you just want to base it on the overall demographics of people who listen to a lot of the podcasts I listen to, you're going to get almost everything wrong about me. And that's what we're trying to fix.
Interesting. Yeah. So I think you mentioned something about, marketing has the wrong inputs now. I think we're at the point where we have to rethink, what we need to track and the inputs, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
We're getting it wrong a lot. And I mean,
well, everyone's gotten used to doing what's easy, what's available, right. What's visible. Right. The problem is that never worked. And the fact that it didn't work was masked for a very long time simply by people having a lack of options. But now, in almost any category, you can choose your price point, you can choose your channel, you can choose how long you're willing to wait. You can literally look at options that are in about a 10x range from a price standpoint. Like, do you want the $50 one? Do you want the $500 one? You can have both of them tomorrow. Right. Here are the pros and cons.
Right.
And you can apply that to nearly any category. So when people's choices are limitless, they get to choose the thing that is overwhelmingly the best fit for, again, those three sets of needs. And the beauty of it is if I actually understand your emotional, practical, and situational needs, that'll account for 93% of the choices you make. So if we can focus on those inputs being based on the 93% that actually predict what someone's going to do versus the 7% that really make it, you might as well throw a dart.
I mean, less than 10%. That's
Yeah. And it's why most marketing investments do not have a positive ROI. It's why you brought up attribution earlier. No one has been able to connect top of funnel engagement to revenue or sales or profits in any meaningful way. So you have all these blind spots. And rather than pushing further and saying, I really need to know what's on the other side of this decision, too many marketers are saying, but you know what? I don't have time to do that right now. I've got to hit this month's numbers.
Yeah.
And they just keep doing the same things over and over again.
Do you think that applies also to B2B marketing? You think this is like a universal trait, human trait?
I think the line between B2B and B2C has never been so blurry.
Ah, good point. I agree with you.
Amazon went a long way towards changing people's expectations for how all businesses and brands should work. In terms of communication, in terms of personalization, in terms of flexibility and customization of experience. And that was before the pandemic happened. But the pandemic was like the last shoe to drop in terms of really, all of a sudden now you didn't have like online consumers and offline consumers. Everyone had to become a data-enabled, tech-enabled, digital consumer.
Right.
And that applies to business as well. Now here we are, we've got, you want to feel old, everyone? This certainly makes me feel old. Gen Z just turned 30.
Oh, gosh. Oh,
okay.
Humanity.
So they are now in the workforce. Yeah. These social media natives.
Yeah.
They don't know a world without social media.
Correct.
They also don't know a world in which there's a lot of direct conversation about things, a lot of mentoring, a lot of... They are used to learning everything through devices and making decisions on their own. So here we are in a world where they're controlling a lot of consumer and business decision making. And if you're looking through an old lens, if you're focused on things like, well, if I could just get you to look at my sales collateral, if I could just get you to read my website, I got news for you. Not how it works anymore.
I mean, we're finding
People
that a lot.
People want to be able to gather information, line it up the same way they're picking out a TV set, and make a decision for their business. We don't talk in terms of B2C or B2B anymore. We prefer the term B2I, brands to individuals.
Brands and interesting.
Because
B2I.
That's a more useful lens. And the fact is, so many people work in hybrid environments or multiple work environments, and lives just aren't compartmentalized the way they used to be. The good news for brands is that the same emotions that determine which TV set I'm going to pick for my living room also will tend to drive my choice of, messaging platforms for my business, right? If I'm going to do the thing that makes me feel safe, or the thing that gives me a sense of thrill of being on the cutting edge of technology, or the thing that gives me a sense of belonging with other business founders, I'm going to tend to lean on those same emotions in my personal life, in my professional life, in my life as a hobbyist, right? So whether I'm choosing a TV or enterprise software or a bottle of rare wine for my collection, not that I'm a wine collector, but I've been looking at them lately for a client. The emotional needs I have are actually very similar. It's those practical and situational filters that determine how my need for safety or how my need for belonging or how my need to feel like I'm caring for others will manifest in the choices I make.
Interesting. So these three things, emotional, practical, and situational needs, the three.
Yeah.
Can you give us some examples of these? I think I understand it, but I'd like to, walk me through an example.
Sure.
Use any brand you want, but I think your example of the washing machine was an interesting one because that's more of a. I mean, oh my gosh, I need this today. But if there's another one where, and again, I'm struggling to figure out a good example. That's why
I could think of so many.
Okay, great. Let's hear.
So let's think about. You want to go consumables or durables?
Let's go durables.
Okay, cars.
Cars. Okay, yeah.
I've done a lot of work in the automotive category. Did a lot of work my last agency job with Audi.
Oh, okay.
And very proud of the fact that one of the things we were able to do for Audi was reduce their average sales cycle from lead to close deal by about half.
Wow. Okay.
And one of the ways because Audi actually had an extremely long sales cycle. But again, if you can cut through and understand what somebody needs and then use that to customize the communications, you're in a very different place. So let's think about somebody in the market for a new car. Well, the emotional need, if you think about those emotions being things like belonging or safety or freedom or thrill, it's very easy to apply those emotions towards the last car you bought or the next car you're thinking about buying. I'm in an interesting bubble here because being a Manhattanite, I don't own a car, and yet we're starting to think about buying a home in another area where
Need a car. Yeah.
all of a sudden we could be car shopping again. So now we're paying a lot of attention every time we go on vacation to the cars we rent and the Ubers we ride in. And, we're in that mode. And the emotional needs that I have are quite different from the last time I bought a car. I had a bunch of little kids, now I'm an empty nester. I'm at a point of transition in my life. So there's an emotional hierarchy to those needs. But then once I'm aligned around, I really think, it's going to be safety and fuel efficiency. I don't know that drive my decision. Okay. Then there are practical needs. How many people does the vehicle need to carry? Is it going to be used primarily for city or highway driving? How available are electric charging stations to me? Should I be considering plugins along my what level of trim would be necessary for the various purposes this vehicle is going to serve? And then there's situational. When do I need it? How much money do I have to put down? Where am I going to park it? And how do I be correct?
Yeah, that's very practical.
How's that going to factor in?
Right.
Can I get it reasonably insured? So we really think of the emotions being drivers and the practical and situational needs being filters. And when you put all of that together, you can predict, and we've actually proven it out in back testing at 91% accuracy.
Wow.
You can predict for an audience the way those emotional priorities and practical and situational needs are going to line up for brands that want to be a part of that conversation. So yeah, you can play by the old rules and say, if we build it and we put enough money behind it, people will find us. But I can tell you flat out, that doesn't work. And I don't care how big your brand is, and I don't care how long you've been doing this thing. That doesn't work anymore. The only way to be effective and profitable in marketing is to understand what the people who buy your product need from you as a brand. Otherwise, you're just playing the same odds as everyone else.
Yeah, which are low,
and
very low odds.
There's a decent chance, no matter what category you work in, that between the time you started listening to this podcast and now, at least one more competitor has popped up that didn't exist.
Oh,
when you turn this podcast on.
That's a very good point.
So
I didn't think of
good
that.
luck trying to keep up with all that
Yeah.
unless you invest in really understanding who's buying from you, why they would buy from you, and why they might buy from somebody else. We always say that the only competitive metric that matters is share of requirement. It's not share of voice. It's not even share of market, because 60% of customers are lost to brands that their current provider wasn't even tracking.
Right.
So,
Right.
nobody even knows who their competition is. Talking to a huge media network now, and, they want to monetize their content creators in a better way. And that's one of the things I've had to explain to them. It's like every time somebody posts another video to TikTok, you've got one more competitor than you had before.
Very good point. I did not think of it that way. Competition just continues to accelerate, products democratized. I always say the best story wins, because I think story is the emotional hook, and you get to
Yes.
the one that tells the best story wins, and you have to be unique and novel in that. And so what are then some of the things how do we know their emotional state? Are there techniques that we can employ in our marketing and our content and our, I don't know, whatever it is, to sort of get that emotional core, both the emotional core, the situational and the practical? I'm assuming once you understand the emotional driver, that sort of, to your point about filtering, that bifurcates it to, okay,
Yes.
Ian really needs a washing machine because his just blew up. So he is very motivated and he's got a bucket, he's got a machine full of water, he has nowhere to go. Oh my God, he's freaking out. That's a pretty strong emotional driver. And then really it's just after that, filtering down to am I the right one for you? Is it small?
Yeah.
Fit in my
How am I
apartment?
going to go about solving my problem?
Right.
Well, look, a lot of these data points have been approachable, but not necessarily in the easiest way.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Quantitative research, qualitative research, data analysis, predictive modeling, in-market testing. The problem is the velocity of change is much greater than it used to be. Mm-hmm. So there was a time not that long ago where you could spend a year trying to learn everything you want to learn with research and in-market testing, and you might drop a few $100,000 on the way to learn all those things. And then by the time you got to the end, you could actually apply that learning. Not anymore. Things change way too fast. And we've all been there. When budgets need to get cut on any sort of a campaign level, what's the first place that red pen goes?
Marketing.
We don't have time for this research.
Oh yeah, research.
We don't have time to measure all this stuff.
Yeah. I was going to say, any kind of brand building. The brand is the dirty word. We don't.
That's
brand.
right.
We
Oh
demand
my God.
generation. You're like, what? It's the same. Really?
Yeah. And I got news for you. There's no such thing as demand creation anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree with.
Demands need to be identified, and you need to make yourself visible to the people with the demands, and do everything in your power to make sure that they find you and believe that you are the most right solution for them. Yeah. But the old notion of demand generation, telling somebody what to demand from you, that's been over for a decade.
Wow. Okay. I always thought it was the last couple of years where it was clear, and I think a lot of it had to do with the whole predictable revenue, mantra, which is clearly dead.
Well, the flywheel, right? The Amazon flywheel is the ultimate example of that. Yeah. Well, if you buy this, then you should buy that, and you should buy this, and I can show you that. Yeah. But people now live in such an on-demand world. And you have to think about the many overlapping ways in which expectations have changed. Remember when TV shows used to be on a certain channel at a certain
time with commercials?
Okay. Now, we're not talking about decades ago.
No.
We're talking about 5 years ago.
I know.
There was such a thing as appointment TV.
Yeah. I know.
Now people don't even know what network their favorite program is on. They have no idea what day it airs, if it airs in any sort of a linear capacity. Well, that's just TV. Now take the other 1,000 choices you might make in a given day and think about how many options you have. We as human beings are at a level of decision fatigue that we have never seen in the history of civilization. We have to make so many conscious and subconscious choices every day. You know, there's a reason supermarkets put all the unhealthiest food at checkout, right? It's because
and the cool tabloid magazines.
Oh, no, but again, because you know what you lack when decision fatigue kicks in? Discernment.
Yeah, that's true. That is
One of
true.
the first things to go is
that frontal lobe.
Oh
just
God,
shuts down.
I really don't want to, buy this creepy, tabloid, but I'm not as discerning.
No.
So I'm going to grab that and the cheese balls because my brain is worn out from all these conscious and subconscious decisions I had to make.
Yeah.
And it is truly physically exhausting to evaluate that many choices.
Oh yeah, totally.
So
totally.
You just can't operate by the old rules. They don't work anymore. Yeah. And again, once you allow yourself to focus on the 93% of decision signals, not the 7%, the rest is just math, right? When I talk about things like, well, yeah, we can increase response 10x, and people say that's a crazy number. It's not, because we're replacing the 7% with the 93%.
I mean, you've got more signal. You're literally like looking at more signal. Yeah. No, I mean, that's it. No, that makes total sense to me.
So everything we do is about taking what used to require a year or two of research and testing and regression analysis and predictive science, and we can collapse it down to a few weeks.
Wow.
And because our data refreshes weekly, we can also see even small fluctuations so that the inputs are constantly being fine-tuned to how people make decisions today. Wow. One of the things we've been doing lately, just to illustrate the way our system works, is we've been publishing something every week called the Eli Report.
Yeah, that's your emotional logic interface. Yeah. The Eli. Yeah.
That's right. So Eli is our AI platform that's created not for generative purposes, but to predict and tell brands what to do, what to say, what not to say, where to show up. And there is a predictive nature to everything Eli does. So one of the things we started to do is each week we look at a different category and we look at the dynamics that are driving brand decisions in the category. So rather than look at it from the brand out, we look at it from the consumer out and say, how are people making choices? And how is this likely to impact the futures of companies trying to make money in this category? So like with the decline in alcohol consumption, we took a good look at, what are the tribes of American drinkers? And if you're working in this category, you need to focus on the people who might actually give you more business in the future, because the majority of people will not.
Right.
So in looking at that, or the one we just released today, is actually looking at contraction and consolidation in streaming media to try to predict, based on emotional, practical, situational needs, who are the different types of consumers of streaming media today? And if you're making marketing decisions for Paramount or Peacock or HBO Max or whatever it's called these days, what do you need to know to make sure you're still going to have a viable business in a few years?
Yeah, totally. It's totally upended. It's just so nuts. So Ian, like, what's the next decision you need to make at your company? What are you thinking?
So many. Well, we're in a very interesting situation right now. One of the things that we are able to do uniquely, because we deal only in anonymized data, is we can see things in the healthcare space that are um, invisible to most healthcare marketers, because we can see people's self-reported statements of well-being, and we can see the specialists they go to, and we can see who they go to for emotional support and who they go to for practical support. And we're actually trying to solve that challenge right now for a brand in the mental health space, and specifically trying to understand where people go when they are in moments of mental health crisis. Again, go back to the washing machine. You're not taking weeks or months or reading articles or shopping for opinions. It's an acute state of need. So the next decision I have to make is the right way for our client's brand to enter that conversation. I'm going to be leaning in on that as soon as we end recording. And one of the cool things about the work we do is it is nonstop detective work and eye-opening, and being surprised and delighted to figure out what people really want and what people need. It's for a business that can feel so mercenary by the very nature of what we do as marketers. It's incredibly rewarding to have the opportunity to do things that are kind. And when you really lean into human understanding, you get to bring a kindness to marketing that's not there often enough, an understanding of what somebody needs and how to get them that thing that they need. And it is incredibly rewarding. And yeah, that's the next decision I have to make before the hardest decision of every day, which will be what to eat for dinner. But that's my biggest problem. You hand me like a phone with Grubhub
Oh
open,
yeah, oh god, yeah.
and you can come back in a half
Okay,
hour,
what do
and
I do?
I will
I have no
still
idea.
be cross-referencing Yelp reviews to delivery times to we have too many options.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, thanks so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. Such an eye-opening discussion about, I think, the future of marketing, when people really got to lean into this, and just really appreciate you giving us some insights. I've always felt that the storytelling aspect of our job as marketers is like the thing that resonates people, and usually that's
No
emotional.
question. People retain information they hear in a story.
Yeah.
I think it's 13 times better.
100%. Yeah.
The challenge is, what story am I open to hearing?
Yes.
And that's the question people haven't asked nearly enough.
Yes.
That everyone needs to be asking.
Yes.
I think about all the work I've done in loyalty marketing, for example, and I hear brands talk about, well, here's what we want out of a relationship with our customers. And often I'll stop them and say, what makes you think these people want a relationship with you?
Good point. Good point.
That's where we have to go, is understanding what every human being wants out of marketing.
Right.
And the beauty is, when you give it to them, everything that stopped
everything
working
gets easier.
starts working again. Yeah.
100%.
It's like anything else, I can, it's, you want to be a good date or a bad date?
Right.
You're going to be that date who just sits there and talks about yourself?
Yeah.
Or are you going to listen and react to that?
Right. Right.
We all have that opportunity now as marketers.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thanks again, Ian, for being on the show. And thanks for everyone listening to the Next Decision podcast. We really appreciate your time today. So if you liked the show, please give us a rating and review on wherever you get your podcasts. And Ian, good luck on dinner tonight.
Yeah, I have no confidence I'll make the right decision. It's one of my least confident decisions of the day. All right.
Take care.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.